Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
How you doing?
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Yep, it's Juliana Nagel, Nagel.
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton, Mass?
My whole life.
Do you recall where you were that evening?
I do.
And where did you go?
To my friend Brian Albert's house.
And your friend, that's a Brian Albert Jr., is that correct?
Yes, Junior, yep.
How did you get to Mr. Albert Jr.'s house that night?
My dad drove me.
And who, if anyone else, did your dad give a ride to one week?
My friend Sarah Levinson.
Did people that lived at the house or other people sort of come back to the house?
Yes.
And about what time was that?
I'm not too sure, but I would say a little after midnight.
And who were the people that came?
Yeah, so it was Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Jr.'s parents, Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Higgins, and that's it. And Caitlin Albert, sorry.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. They come sometime shortly around or after midnight, is that fair to say?
Yes.
At some point you went home that night?
Yes.
What time was it?
I would say give or take like 1:45.
And so between the time that they came back to the house around 12:15 or so, between that and 1:45, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor in the house at that point?
It was still all the same. Everyone was having fun, hanging out.
Music still playing, people drinking, having a good time?
Yes.
And over the course of this time, as far as the group that you talked about that was in the kitchen and dining room area, did you see any of those people go anywhere else?
I mean, to the bathroom, but I know at one point Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back, but he just opened the back door and watched him from the door and brought him right back upstairs. So.
And with respect to yourself, you indicated that you left with Miss Levinson and the McCabe's, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who, if anyone else, was present in the home when you left?
I'm not sure, no.
And so when you left, how was it that you came out of the residence at that point?
Out the front door.
You come out from that door, where was it that you went?
Went into Matt and Jennifer's car.
Do you recall anything about the car, what type of car it was, or?
It was an SUV, but I don't know what kind it was.
And where was that vehicle parked when you went over to?
I was in the driveway.
Recall when you got in the car where it was you were seated or where anyone else was seated in the car?
Yeah, it was Matt driving, Jennifer in the front, and then me behind Matt, and then Sarah next to me in the back behind Jen.
Now, after you get in the car, about how long was it before the car backs out of the driveway?
I'm not quite too sure.
When the vehicle leaves from the house, at some point it's going by the house, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall which side of the McCabe's vehicle was facing towards the house? And by that I mean, was it the side you were sitting on or the side that Ms. Levinson was?
The side that Sarah was sitting on.
And that would have been the passenger side, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time that the vehicle was driving by the house, what is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation, so Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah.
And so when Ms. McCabe she's in the front seat, is that right?
Yes.
And she's talking to you and Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
And how is it that she's positioned talking to you with relation to the seat that she's in?
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit towards us in the back seat.
And as you drive by home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
And from where you were situated in the car, do you know sort of what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw by the flag?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
if you know about where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I would probably say like close to like the street, but like in their lawn, right kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
If you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to where, as specific as you can be, where you observe it is. Now, as the vehicle is going by the house, as you make that observation, what, if anything, did you say in the backseat of the car?
I did say out loud, I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was. But I was also intoxicated drinking, so didn't really know what I saw. But Sarah was like, "What, Julie?" And I was like, "I don't know what it was." And then that was kind of really it.
And that was sort of the end of the conversation in reference to that, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Ms. Nagel, if I could just ask you one more question. With regard to the object that you saw in that area, the flagpole, can you describe how big an object it was that you saw?
I'd probably say like 5 or 6 feet, like long, but.
And at the time that you were driving by at that point, could you tell what it was?
Not quite sure, no. It was just too quick to tell.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you.
On the night of January 28th into the 29th, you saw Brian Albert Sr. After he came back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You were on the first floor of that residence the whole night, were you not?
Yes.
And you have a specific memory of Brian Albert Sr. walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, correct?
Yes.
When Brian Albert Sr. was walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, he maintained control of Chloe's collar. Did he not?
He did, yes.
At about 12:15 to 12:20, you texted your brother Ryan for a ride home, correct?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Do you have a screenshot of that text message?
Somewhere, yes.
Did you provide that to any investigator or assistant district attorney?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether any assistant district attorney or investigator asked you for a copy of that text message?
I don't know.
Is that text message still on your phone?
I don't know.
Did you delete that text message?
I don't
Objection,
know.
Your Honor.
So let's move this along, Mr. Yanetti.
When you texted Ryan that night, you were contacting him because you thought it was an appropriate time for you to leave, correct?
Yeah.
How long did it take your brother Ryan to get to the Albert home after that text message?
I don't know.
Was it an hour?
I don't think so, no.
Was it a half hour?
I do not know.
So you have no idea how long it took him to get there and how long you stayed after you texted him, correct?
I don't know, no.
By the time you're texting Ryan, Ms. Nagel, how much do you think you had had to drink since 6 or 7 p.m.?
A decent amount.
Would you say that another word for it would be a lot?
No.
Between the time that you texted your brother Ryan and the time he arrived, it's fair to say that you changed your mind about going home with him, correct?
Yes.
You changed your mind while you were still inside the Albert home, correct?
I did not say that, no.
Well, I'm asking you now.
No.
You changed your mind only after you left the residence and went out to talk to him?
Yes.
That said that you wanted to stay longer.
If myself.
So you told him that you wanted to stay longer, correct?
Yeah.
I asked you about the screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan and whether any investigator or assistant district attorney had asked you for them, correct?
I don't remember.
You didn't remember, right. But somebody did ask you for a screenshot, correct?
Yes.
Who was that?
JJ McCabe.
And by JJ, you mean Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct, yes.
When JJ asked you, do you remember when it was that JJ, Jennifer McCabe, asked you for a copy of those screenshots?
I do not remember, no.
Did you provide them to Jennifer McCabe?
I did, yes.
When Jennifer McCabe, or as you call her, JJ, asked you for screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan, did Jennifer McCabe tell you that she was investigating this case?
No.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes.
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
A black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now, yeah.
Yeah, Lally, when you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally.
Yes, Mr. Lally, correct, yes.
Mr. Lally just asked you during this trial, again,
Yeah.
right before this jury. That's the first time you've ever been asked or ever given an answer as to how big that object was, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
You have to ask that differently, Mr. Yanetti.
Today, this afternoon, is the first time that you've provided testimony or information to any official regarding this case that the object was 5 or 6 feet long.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Who did you tell prior to today?
About what?
Okay, I thought we were talking about the fact that you've now testified that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long. You recall that?
Today, yes.
And my question to you was, you've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
And your friend Sarah said what? Or something to that effect, correct?
Correct.
And there was no further conversation after that, correct?
Not that I can remember. No.
The fact of the matter is, you did nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you did not see a body on that lawn, correct?
Objection.
Is that true? Can you answer that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk, right?
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah.
You told investigators that when Brian Albert Jr. called you the next morning and you found out about the tragedy the previous night, you, quote, put two and two together, correct?
I did, yes.
And when you put two and two together, you did not call the Canton Police, correct?
I did not know.
Not call the state police, correct?
Nope.
Not call the district attorney's office.
No.
You would agree with me that you just sat on this revelation, correct?
I would.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, that's sustained in that form.
And you were not interviewed by any investigator in January, February, March, or any time over the spring or summer of 2022, correct?
I don't remember the time frame, but not right after, no.
And when an investigator finally spoke to you, it was Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
He was the one who took your statement on October 12th of 2022, correct?
If that was the date and time, yes.
You know, Ms. Nagel, that as of October of 2022, the defense had, in this case, had publicly announced that
Objection, Your Honor.
that house saw
All
a
right.
body on that front lawn.
So that question's improper. I'm going to strike that question.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to break. I have to bring you back tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so jury